Commander Keth Mori adjusted his ceremonial battle cloak, the crimson fabric rippling across his 7-foot frame as he surveyed the arena below. The Nexus Prime Combat Stadium, a monument to galactic civilization, stretched out in perfect geometric precision. Crystalline viewing pods floated at various levels, each housing the most elite representatives from across the galaxy. The air hummed with anticipation, translation devices, and barely contained bloodlust. Pathetic, Keth Mori muttered, his mandibles clicking in amusement as he watched the various species champions prepare in their holding chambers. The Galactic Council actually expects this to be entertaining. His aide, a nervous Flixian named Quarp, shuffled beside him. Commander, the stakes are significant. Mining rights to the Kepler Triad systems, unlimited extraction for 50 standard cycles. Stakes? Keth Mori's laugh was like grinding metal. My dear Quarp, when you've conquered 17 star systems before your third molting, everything else feels like a children's game. Below them, the arena floor buzzed with preparation. The Gorethian champion, Blextar, demonstrated his acid-spitting capabilities by melting through a titanium practice dummy. Spectacular. The Vorthak representative, Zindal, showcased her ability to phase through solid matter, disappearing and reappearing at will. Impressive, certainly. Then there was the Klaxon warrior, standing 12 feet tall with enough bio-enhanced muscle to crush a starship hull. The ethereal collective had sent their mind-bender, capable of driving opponents insane with a glance. Even the usually peaceful Aldrani had contributed their crystal-skinned berserker, someone who could survive in the vacuum of space. And then Keth Mori gestured dismissively toward the far corner of the preparation area. We have Earth's contribution to this comedy. Corp squinted through his viewing scope. I don't see anything particularly threatening about their representative, Commander. Exactly. Keth Mori's voice dripped with condescension. The humans sent what appears to be a juvenile female. No visible cybernetic enhancements, no biomodifications, no specialized equipment. She's wearing what my intelligence reports call casual clothing. The human sat cross-legged on a bench, appearing to consume some sort of wrapped food item, while other champions roared, flexed, and demonstrated their lethal capabilities. She looked, for lack of a better term, bored. This tournament will be over before the first intermission, Keth Mori declared, settling back into his viewing pod. I almost feel sorry for the little creature. The announcement system crackled to life, echoing through the stadium with ceremonial pomp. Ladies, gentlemen, and distinguished beings of all classifications, presenting Earth's representative, Maya Santos, age 19 standard years, weight classification light, specialization none listed. A ripple of laughter echoed through the viewing pods. Keth Mori watched as Maya stood up from her bench, stretching like someone who'd been sitting too long at a boring lecture. She was, by galactic standards, absurdly small, 5.5 feet tall, maybe 130 pounds soaking wet. Her dark hair was pulled back in what humans called a ponytail, and she wore simple pants and a fitted top that looked like civilian clothing. Did someone accidentally register their maintenance staff? Cackled Ambassador Threx Lawn from the Hive Collective's viewing pod. His insectoid laughter buzzed through the translation network. Perhaps this is some elaborate human joke, suggested Warlord Grix Mar of the Bone Crushers. Maybe their real champion is hiding somewhere, waiting for the dramatic reveal. Keth Mori activated his personal scanner, running a full biological analysis on the human female. The results were laughably mundane. Standard carbon-based bipedal organism, no cybernetic implants, no biomodifications, no apparent weapon storage compartments. Her bone density was actually lower than most species, and her muscle mass was embarrassingly inadequate. Quarp, remind me to file a formal complaint with the Galactic Council after this farce concludes, Keth Mori said, his voice heavy with disdain. Clearly the humans misunderstood the nature of this competition. Down in the arena, Maya walked to the center platform where each champion was expected to demonstrate their abilities for the crowd. The massive Klaxon warrior before her had lifted a 2-ton weight above his head and crushed it to powder. The ethereal mind bender had caused 3 volunteer assistants to dance like puppets before releasing them, giggling and disoriented. Maya's turn arrived. She looked around the stadium, seemingly taking in the thousands of alien spectators, then shrugged. She bent down, picked up a small pebble from the arena floor, and flicked it with her finger toward a target drone hovering 50 meters away. The pebble struck the drone dead center, causing it to spin lazily before stabilizing. The crowd fell silent, not because it was impressive, but because it was so utterly mundane that nobody knew how to respond. "Did she just flick a rock?" Corp whispered. "I believe she did," Keth Mori replied, his mandibles clicking in what could generously be called amusement. How delightfully primitive. Maya walked back to her preparation area, sat down on her bench, and resumed eating what appeared to be some sort of wrapped food bar. She looked completely unbothered by the incredulous stares, the whispered commentary, or the fact that she was surrounded by beings who could literally tear her apart without breaking a sweat. "Well," announced the stadium commentator after an awkward pause, "that was certainly something. Ladies and gentlemen, Maya Santos, everyone." Keth Mori settled back in his seat, already planning his victory celebration. The betting pools opened 30 minutes before the first elimination round, and the numbers were absolutely hilarious. Maya Santos faced odds of 800 to 1 against her survival, let alone victory. Her opponent, Gruxtar of the Molten Worlds, carried odds of 1 to 3 in favor of ending the fight within the first minute. "I almost feel guilty taking free money," chuckled General Vac Thul from his premium viewing box. "But those fools on Earth practically begged us to relieve them of their mining rights." Gruxtar was everything Maya was not, a 12 feet of armored nightmare, bioengineered over generations to be the perfect killing machine. His exoskeleton could deflect plasma cannon fire, his claws could shear through battleship hull plating, and his internal heat core burned at temperatures that would melt most metals. He'd won 47 consecutive matches across various tournaments, leaving nothing but carbonized remains in his wake. Maya entered the arena looking like she was heading to a casual sporting event. She waved to the crowd, completely oblivious to the fact that most of them were placing final bets on which piece of her would hit the wall first. "Begin combat," announced the referee, immediately retreating to his protective alcove. Gruxtar's opening move was textbook execution. A full power charge designed to end fights before they started, his superheated claws extended, ready to slice the tiny human into convenient pieces. His roar echoed through the stadium as he thundered across the arena floor. Maya took one step to the right. Gruxtar sailed past her, his momentum carrying him directly into the arena's southern wall. The impact cratered the reinforced barrier and left him momentarily stunned. The crowd fell silent, processing what they'd just witnessed. "Lucky dodge," muttered Keth Mori, though something about the timing felt oddly precise. Gruxtar recovered quickly, spinning around with a sweep of his massive tail that should have caught Maya at knee level. Instead, she performed what looked like a casual hop, the tail passing harmlessly beneath her feet. She landed gracefully, still looking somewhat bored. The real comedy began when Gruxtar activated his shoulder-mounted plasma cannons. State-of-the-art weapons capable of melting through tank armor, they tracked Maya's movements with military precision. He fired 6 shots in rapid succession, each one perfectly aimed. Maya walked through the barrage like someone navigating a gentle rain shower. The plasma bolts sizzled past her, missing by inches that seemed calculated rather than coincidental. The 4th shot actually singed her hair, and she paused to examine the damaged strands with mild annoyance. "How is she predicting his firing patterns?" Corp whispered, his voice tight with confusion. "Beginner's luck," Keth Mori replied, though his mandibles had stopped clicking. "Purely random movement creating the illusion of skill." Gruxtar's frustration mounted as his weapons began overheating from rapid fire. Maya, meanwhile, had noticed a loose panel on one of the arena walls, presumably damaged from Gruxtar's initial collision. She walked over, gave it an experimental poke, and it fell off, revealing a bundle of power cables. "Oh, that looks important," she said, her voice carrying clearly through the arena's audio system. Grux Tar lunged forward, his claws extended for a killing blow. Maya ducked under his swing, her movement causing him to stumble. His momentum carried him directly into the exposed cables, which promptly short-circuited his entire weapon system. Sparks flew, alarms blared, and Grux Tar found himself temporarily blinded by his own malfunctioning heads-up display. Maya tapped him gently on the back of his knee, a spot where his armor plates didn't quite overlap. Grux Tar toppled forward like a felled tree, his system still sparking and twitching. Winner by technical knockout, Maya Santos, announced the referee, sounding almost as confused as everyone else. Extraordinary luck, Keth Mori declared, settling back in his seat. Beginner's fortune at its finest. The real competition begins in the next round. The semi-final match drew a different crowd. Word had spread through the station's communication networks about the humans' impossible luck, and several high-ranking military officials had arrived to witness the spectacle firsthand. Keth Mori noticed Admiral Zex Thun of the Void Fleet taking notes in his viewing pod, which was mildly concerning. Maya's opponent, Vorthik the Acid Spitter, represented the Corrosive Collective, a species that had perfected biological warfare over millennia. Standing 8 feet tall with a chitinous exoskeleton that constantly wept acidic compounds, Vorthik could dissolve most known materials with a casual spit. His internal acid glands could produce 12 different types of corrosive compounds, each tailored to specific molecular structures. Now this should be entertaining, Keth Mori mused, though he noticed his mandibles weren't clicking with their usual confidence. No amount of luck can help someone dodge a cloud of acid vapor. The pre-match analysis confirmed what everyone suspected. Vorthik's acid could eat through Maya's clothing, skin, and bones in under 30 seconds. The arena had been equipped with special ventilation systems and emergency neutralization protocols just for this fight. Maya entered the arena still looking like she was attending a social gathering rather than a death match. She'd apparently taken time to braid her hair differently, which seemed like an odd priority considering her impending dissolution. The human appears to be studying the arena infrastructure, Corp observed, his voice carrying a note of puzzlement. Indeed, Maya was walking around the perimeter of the fighting space, examining the gravity control panels, the ventilation grates, and the emergency system access points. She moved with the casual curiosity of someone exploring a new neighborhood, occasionally nodding to herself as if confirming something. A peculiar behavior for someone about to become a puddle of organic soup, Admiral Zex Thun commented through the interpod communication system. The match began with Vorthik immediately launching a concentrated stream of his most potent acid directly at Maya's center mass. The attack would have melted a hole through a battleship's armor plating. Maya wasn't there. She had moved, not with the desperate scrambling of someone avoiding death, but with the fluid precision of someone who knew exactly where the attack would land before it was launched. The acid struck the arena floor, immediately beginning to eat through the reinforced composite material. Lucky positioning, Keth Mori said, but his voice lacked conviction. Vorthik followed up with a wide spray attack, covering nearly half the arena in corrosive mist. Maya responded by casually walking to one of the gravity control panels she'd examined earlier and pressing a sequence of buttons. The arena's gravity field shifted, creating a localized vortex that pulled the acid mist away from her and concentrated it in the center of the fighting space. How does she know the control sequences? Demanded General Trix Mar from the Conquest Coalition. Those systems require specialized training. Universal symbols, Maya's voice carried clearly through the arena's audio system as she answered the question nobody had asked her directly. Same basic principles as fluid dynamics. Pretty standard stuff. Pretty standard stuff. The arena's gravity control system was a classified military technology that required 3 years of specialized training to operate safely. Maya had figured it out by looking at it for 5 minutes. Vorthik, now frustrated by his opponent's impossible evasion, began rapid-firing different acid compounds in seemingly random patterns. Maya responded by adjusting the gravity controls again, this time creating a spiral pattern that redirected the acid streams back toward Vorthik himself. The alien warrior found himself dodging his own attacks while Maya stood calmly in the center of the arena, occasionally fine-tuning the gravity fields like someone adjusting the temperature in their home. "This is not luck," Admiral Zex Thun said quietly. "This is systematic problem-solving under extreme pressure." The match ended when Vorthik, disoriented by the constantly shifting gravity and his own reflected attacks, stumbled into a pool of his own acid. His natural resistance protected him from serious injury, but the technical knockout was undeniable. Maya walked over to the gravity controls and reset them to normal, then helped Vorthik to his feet with the casual politeness of someone assisting a neighbor with groceries. "Good match," she said, apparently unaware that she'd just defeated a warrior capable of dissolving starship hulls. "Winner, Maya Santos," announced the referee, his voice noticeably less confident than before. Keth Mori stared at the arena floor, his superior intellect finally beginning to process what he'd witnessed. The human hadn't gotten lucky twice. She'd adapted, improvised, and executed complex tactical solutions in real time against opponents who should have been utterly beyond her capabilities. "Corp," he said slowly, "request a full intelligence briefing on Earth's environmental conditions." The intelligence briefing arrived just as the final match preparations began, and Keth Mori barely glanced at it before dismissing the contents as obviously corrupted data. According to the report, Earth was classified as a Class Ci Deathworld with gravitational forces 3 times galactic standard, atmospheric pressure that would crush most species, and predator-to-prey ratios that defied biological logic. Clearly, some junior analyst had confused Earth with one of those nightmare worlds in the forbidden sectors. The championship arena had been transformed for the final confrontation. Ceremonial banners hung from every surface representing the gathered species of the galaxy. Premium viewing pods were packed with military leaders, trade representatives, and various officials who would witness the Zelthak supremacy claim its rightful place as the dominant galactic force. Keth Mori descended to the preparation chamber, where his attendants began the ritual of armament. First came the crimson blade of Velthak, forged from the core metal of a collapsed star and sharpened to a molecular edge. The weapon had cleaved through 7 different types of advanced armor and could maintain its cutting power for over 1,000 years. Next, the Neural Combat Crown, a sophisticated piece of technology that enhanced his already formidable reflexes to superhuman levels. The crown interfaced directly with his nervous system, providing tactical analysis, threat assessment, and predictive combat modeling in real time. His ceremonial armor followed, each piece representing a conquered world. The chest plate alone weighed more than Maya's entire body and could withstand direct hits from orbital bombardment weapons. Built-in medical systems would keep him fighting, even with injuries that would kill most species instantly. Finally, the gauntlets of Dominion, equipped with microfusion generators that could deliver devastating energy blasts or enhance his physical strikes to levels capable of punching through starship hulls. "Commander," his weapons master intoned formally, "you bear the might of 17 conquered systems and the fury of the Zelthak people. May your enemies know despair before they know death." Across the preparation area, Maya Santos sat on a bench, retying her shoes. "The human appears to be stretching," Corp reported, his voice filled with disbelief. "Like she's preparing for a light exercise routine." Indeed, Maya was performing what looked like basic calisthenics. Arm circles, toe touches, neck rolls. She moved with the casual routine of someone warming up for a morning jog rather than a fight to the death against the galaxy's most feared predator. "Has she requested any weapons?" Keth Mori asked, genuinely curious. "No, Commander. When offered access to the ceremonial armory, she said, and I quote, 'Thanks, but I'm good with just these.'" Corp gestured helplessly and held up her hands. The betting pools had reopened with even more dramatic odds. Maya now faced odds of 2,000 to 1 against survival, and the phrase "how long will she last" had replaced "can she win" in all official wagering. Most bets centered around whether she would survive the first 30 seconds. Keth Mori made his entrance to thunderous applause, his 7-foot armored form gleaming under the arena lights. Each step resonated through the stadium floor, and his weapons hummed with barely contained energy. He was death incarnate, the apex predator of a species that had never known defeat. Maya entered to polite golf claps and confused murmuring. She waved at the crowd like she was acknowledging applause at a school awards ceremony. Citizens of the galaxy, Keth Mori's voice boomed through the arena's speakers, amplified by his armor's communication systems. Today you witness the final demonstration of Zelthak's superiority. I will show mercy to this child, ending her suffering quickly and with honor. Let no one say that the Zelthak lack compassion for the weak. Maya looked around the arena, apparently checking the structural supports one final time, then nodded to herself with satisfaction. Sounds good, she called back cheerfully. Ready when you are. The opening moment of the championship match would be analyzed by military strategists for decades afterward, though none of them would ever reach a satisfactory conclusion about what they witnessed. Keth Mori launched himself forward with the explosive force that had earned his species their fearsome reputation across 17 star systems. His enhanced legs generated enough power to propel his armored mass at speeds that would turn most biological creatures into paste upon impact. The neural combat crown calculated his trajectory, optimized his attack angle, and prepared 3 separate follow-up sequences depending on Maya's response. Maya tilted her head slightly to the left. Keth Mori's molecular edged blade sliced through the space where her neck had been, missing by perhaps half an inch. But that wasn't the disturbing part. The disturbing part was that she had begun moving before he had committed to his attack vector, as if she'd read his tactical computer's calculations directly from his mind. Impossible, breathed Admiral Zek's Thun from his viewing pod. The reaction time differential alone should make that dodge mathematically impossible. Keth Mori recovered instantly, his enhanced reflexes allowing him to spin into a backhand strike that should have caught Maya's center mass. The gauntlets of Dominion discharged their microfusion energy, creating a destructive wave capable of vaporizing lesser beings. Maya stepped backward. The energy blast cratered the arena floor where she'd been standing, but leaving a smoking hole 3 feet deep in reinforced composite material designed to withstand starship weapons. Maya examined the damage with mild interest, as if someone had spilled coffee on a carpet. "Ah," she said conversationally. "That's pretty impressive. Does it come with different settings?" Keth Mori's tactical computer suggested that his opponent was suffering from shock-induced delirium, a common response among primitive species when faced with overwhelming force. This theory lasted exactly as long as it took Maya to casually sidestep his next 4 attacks, each one precisely calculated to account for her previous movements. "She's not just dodging," General Trixmar observed, his voice tight with confusion. "She's moving through the attack patterns like she knows where they're going to be." The first real shock came when Keth Mori managed to connect. A devastating uppercut, enhanced by his armor's power systems and capable of punching through starship bulkheads, caught Maya squarely in the ribs. The impact should have launched her across the arena and left her as a broken mess against the far wall. Instead, Maya took 2 steps backward, looked down at her side where the blow had landed, and rubbed the spot thoughtfully. "Ow," she said, sounding genuinely surprised. That actually stung a little. The arena fell silent. Keth Mori stared at his gauntlet, running a diagnostic to ensure his power systems were functioning correctly. The readouts confirmed what he'd felt, a clean hit with maximum force output. Enough energy to demolish a small building had just been absorbed by a creature that weighed less than his armor's left leg. "Did she just tank a fusion-enhanced strike?" Corp whispered, his voice barely audible through the communication system. Maya straightened up, rolling her shoulders like someone working out a kink from sleeping in an uncomfortable position. "Sorry about that. I wasn't really paying attention. You're pretty fast for someone carrying all that gear." Keth Mori's confusion transformed into anger, and anger transformed into tactical fury. He unleashed a combination sequence that had never failed to end a fight, molecular blade strikes interwoven with energy discharges, each attack flowing into the next with mechanical precision. 17 different strike patterns executed in perfect sequence, covering every possible escape route. Maya moved through the barrage like she was dancing to music only she could hear. Not the desperate scrambling of someone barely avoiding death, but the fluid grace of someone who found the entire situation mildly amusing. When a blade strike came within inches of her face, she'd lean away just far enough. When an energy blast threatened to vaporize her, she'd step aside with casual timing. And then, between one attack and the next, she stepped forward. Her fist connected with Keth Mori's chest plate, striking a point just below his primary power coupling. The armor, designed to withstand orbital bombardment, cracked. Not shattered, not destroyed, but cracked, with hairline fractures spreading across the surface like a spiderweb. Keth Mori staggered backward, his tactical computer screaming warnings about structural integrity failures. Maya looked at her knuckles, flexed her fingers experimentally, then nodded with satisfaction. "Okay," she said cheerfully, "now I'm warmed up." Commander Corp's voice carried through the communication system, high-pitched with panic. "The power readings from that strike, they're impossible. No immune-enhanced biological organism should be able to generate that level of kinetic force." Keth Mori activated his emergency combat protocols, flooding his system with combat stimulants and engaging his armor's maximum protection settings. For the first time in his military career, he was beginning to suspect that he might not be the apex predator in this particular food chain. Maya cracked her knuckles and smiled. Keth Mori's desperation began to show as his attacks grew wider, more frantic, less precise. His blade work, once surgical in its perfection, devolved into sweeping arcs that Maya avoided with what looked like boredom. Each missed strike left him more off balance, more vulnerable, more confused about what he was actually fighting. "You know," Maya said conversationally, ducking under a horizontal slash that would have decapitated most beings, "this is actually kind of fun. Reminds me of sparring back home, except the gravity here is so light I keep overcompensating." She demonstrated by leaping casually over Keth Mori's follow-up attack, floating through the air with impossible grace before landing softly behind him. "Light gravity?" Admiral Zex Thun's voice cracked slightly. "The arena maintains standard galactic gravitational norm, 1.07 times baseline." Maya paused mid-dodge to look up at the viewing pods. "Oh, is that what you guys consider normal? That's adorable. Earth gravity is about 3 times this. Makes everything feel kind of floaty and weird." The implications of that statement rippled through the viewing pods like a shockwave. Species that had evolved under standard gravity were already considered physically robust by galactic standards. A species that considered standard gravity to be light was almost incomprehensible. Keth Mori launched another desperate combination, his microfusion gauntlets overcharging as he tried to overwhelm his impossible opponent. Maya sidestepped the energy blasts with casual ease, continuing her commentary as if she were discussing the weather. "The gravity thing is probably why I'm having such an easy time with the reflexes," she mused, catching Keth Mori's wrist mid-strike and holding it steady despite his power-assisted strength. "Back home, everything moves faster. You have to react quicker or you get eaten." "Eaten?" General Trixmar's voice was barely a whisper. "Oh yeah, Earth's got some seriously nasty predators. We've got cats that can bite through skulls, bears that weigh half a ton and can run 40 miles per hour, sharks with 3 rows of teeth, spiders that can kill you with a single bite." Maya released Keth Mori's wrist and stepped back, allowing him to stumble forward. "And that's just the stuff we consider normal wildlife." The viewing pods erupted in urgent whispered conversations as species representatives began frantically accessing their databases and cross-referencing Earth's biological classifications. What they found defied every assumption they'd made about the human homeworld. "Plus there's the diseases," Maya continued, effortlessly avoiding another desperate attack sequence. "Bacteria, viruses, parasites, fungi, all constantly trying to kill you. Really keeps your immune system on its toes." And the weather. "We get storms that can level cities, temperature swings that would kill most species, and don't even get me started on the natural disasters." Keth Mori's attacks were becoming increasingly wild, and his enhanced combat systems unable to process an opponent who moved like Maya while speaking as casually as someone describing their morning routine. His blade struck the arena floor, sending sparks flying, while Maya examined her fingernails with interest. "The best part is the other humans," she said with genuine enthusiasm. "We've been competing with each other for millions of years. Fighting, hunting, surviving, getting better at violence and problem-solving. Really brings out the best in a species, you know?" "She's toying with him," Corp whispered, horror evident in his voice. "She's been toying with him this entire time." Indeed, Maya's behavior had shifted subtly from defensive to predatory. She moved around Keth Mori like a cat playing with a wounded mouse, allowing him to attack, letting him think he might connect, then demonstrating just how outclassed he really was. Her casual attitude had taken on an edge that made every observer's survival instincts scream warnings. "Oh, and the pain tolerance thing," Maya added, catching another energy blast on her shoulder and shrugging it off like a gentle pat. "When everything in your environment is trying to kill you constantly, you learn to keep functioning even when you're hurt. Really useful skill." Keth Mori's armor was showing serious damage now, hairline cracks spreading across multiple sections, his power systems fluctuating under the strain of maintaining maximum output. Maya, meanwhile, looked like she'd just finished a light warm-up exercise. "Anyway," she said, cracking her neck with an audible pop that somehow sounded more threatening than any roar from the previous champions, "I think it's time to wrap this up. Ready for the finale?" The arena fell completely silent, except for Keth Mori's labored breathing and the electrical hum of his failing systems. Keth Mori's final gambit was born of pure desperation and species pride. His tactical computer had long since given up providing useful analysis, simply repeating error messages and warnings about impossible physiological readings. His power systems were failing, his armor was compromised, and his enhanced reflexes felt sluggish compared to the nightmare he was fighting. But he still had the crimson blade of Velthak. With a roar that echoed through 17 conquered star systems worth of ancestral fury, Keth Mori raised the molecular-edged weapon above his head in a two-handed grip. Every enhancement system in his armor fed power into this single, devastating overhead strike. The blade hummed with enough energy to cleave through a starship's hull, its edge sharp enough to split atoms. This was the strike that had ended the siege of Nexthara. The blow that had shattered the crystalline fleets. The attack that had made the Zelthak the apex predators of known space. Maya looked up at the descending blade with mild interest. The strike fell with the weight of a collapsing star, carrying enough force to crater mountains. At the last possible instant, as the molecular edge screamed toward her skull, Maya raised her right hand. She caught the blade between her thumb and forefinger. The weapon that could slice through battleship armor stopped dead, its molecular edge held motionless by two fingers that shouldn't have been able to stop a butter knife. Keth Mori's armor screamed protests as his enhanced strength strained against the impossible resistance. "Ha," Maya said, examining the blade with academic curiosity. "Neat craftsmanship. The edge work is really impressive." Keth Mori stared at his weapon, trapped in a grip that defied every law of physics he understood. His tactical computer had given up entirely, displaying only a single message: "Error does not compute." "You know," Maya continued conversationally, "I've been holding back this whole time because I didn't want to hurt anyone too badly. But since you seem pretty durable," she smiled, and for the first time the expression didn't look friendly. "Let me show you something we learned back home." With her free hand, Maya reached around Keth Mori's armored form, her fingers finding the junction between his chest plate and back armor. What happened next defied every understanding of biology, physics, and structural engineering that the galactic community possessed. Maya's grip tightened. The sound was indescribable. Metal shrieked, composite materials groaned, and something deep within Keth Mori's anatomy made a noise like a tree branch snapping under too much weight. His spine, reinforced with bio-enhancements and protected by armor designed to withstand orbital bombardment, compressed like an accordion. Keth Mori's legs gave out instantly, his nervous system sending confused signals as his vertebrae realigned in ways that evolution had never intended. He collapsed forward, held upright only by Maya's casual grip on his midsection. "Sorry about that," she said matter-of-factly, releasing both the blade and his armor. "Pressure points are tricky with all the different anatomies. I was aiming for a nerve cluster, but I think I missed." Keth Mori toppled forward like a felled tree, his armor clattering against the arena floor. He was alive, breathing, even conscious, but his body had simply stopped obeying his commands from the waist down. The arena existed in a pocket of absolute silence, 20,000 beings processing what they had just witnessed. Maya dusted off her hands and looked around expectantly. "So did I win?" The silence stretched for exactly 37 seconds before Admiral Zek's Thun's voice cracked through the communication system. She was holding back. In every previous fight, she was holding back. The realization hit the viewing pods like a physical blow. Maya hadn't won her previous matches through luck or accident. She had been deliberately restraining herself, carefully calibrating her responses to avoid seriously injuring opponents who were, by galactic standards, incredibly dangerous. The immediate withdrawal of all territorial claims, General Trixmar announced, his voice hollow. "The Conquest Coalition formally requests non-aggression treaties with Earth, effective immediately," but similar declarations echoed through the communication network as every major military power in the galaxy suddenly discovered urgent diplomatic business elsewhere. The Zelthak Supremacy's mining claims were abandoned so quickly that the paperwork was filed before the medical team reached Keth Mori. Maya, meanwhile, was looking around the arena with the satisfied expression of someone who'd just finished a pleasant workout. "Hey," she called up to the referee's booth, "is there a snack bar around here? All that exercise made me hungry." The galaxy had just learned that humanity's restraint, not their aggression, was what kept the universe from burning. And somehow, that knowledge was infinitely more terrifying than any weapon they could have imagined.